All right, here we are. All right, all right, all right. I love that. I do. This is the Miles of Smiles Events presents. We're talking again. Watch out. And we're at the Crystal Clearpoint Studios. And today, Crystal's not with us, our Crystal Teague. She's taking a break. And we have today with us Martha Hazzard Decker. And she is third partner of our DFW Paranormal Investigations with Luann Morris and myself, Deborah Colleen Rose. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to tell you guys a little bit about who we are, why we do this, why we're a good team, and just kind of give you an idea of what DFW Paranormal Investigations can do for you and what we won't do for you. So take it away. Somebody say something.
Yeah, Martha,
Oh,
you're the senior investigator here. You go
yeah.
ahead and tell us
Oh,
all about you.
oh, wait a minute, wait a minute. Let me do a lead in. Okay, so Martha and I cannot remember why we know each other. That tells you how simpatico our relationship is. It's like we've always known. And Martha is retired as law enforcement. Is that right? Did I say it right? I never
Right,
say it. I always get it wrong.
right.
Yeah. So she's retired law enforcement.
That's good
She
enough.
is
Yeah.
also a private investigator. And she is also a paranormal investigator. And those are two different things. Private investigators deal with live people, paranormal investigators deal with dead people. And so she also has probably the most extensive background. That's what we would call official, I guess, of the group, because she's been doing this for many years as an official paranormal investigator. She's done many, many lectures. She's written several books, specifically one on the haunted Hill House in Mineral Wells that is quite famous nationally, maybe even internationally. She has been on national TV with Jack Osborne, and I always like that because I like Jack and I like Ozzy, the son of Ozzy Osbourne. She was on the Portals of Hell talking about the haunted Hill House as the investigator and did a wonderful job. So we always lean on her to kind of be our spokesperson because she has more official, keyword here, official background than Luann and I do. So
Right.
go ahead, Martha.
Okay. Well, I don't know where to begin. I, Deborah and I've known, yeah, like she said, have known each other forever. And a mutual friend of ours, when I retired from not the police department, but when I retired from law enforcement, I went to work for the state as a child death investigator. And I did that for a number of years. And when I retired from that, our mutual friend told me that I should get a hold of Deborah. And of course, when I looked, it's like, I'm already friends with her. So I went ahead and said, hey, so-and-so said I was supposed to get a hold of you. And then we met, and it's been crazy ever since. But while I was in law enforcement, I started as a reserve officer. That's just a non-paid officer. You do everything that they do. But through there, I've had over 2,000 hours of specialized training. I was the lead detective and the assistant chief when I retired. I was head of our warrant division at one time. I was a I was on the North Texas Anti-Terrorism Task Force. I specialized in the sovereign citizen, uh, like Texas Constitutional Militia, Republic of Texas, all those different kind of groups. I specialized in that. I was a member of our SWAT team. I'm certified as a negotiator. I'm certified as an instructor, training officer, all sorts of stuff. And that's where I got my name, Mad Dog, that a lot of people know. The chief gave me that name because I thought I was lucky because he used to give me anything if it came across as potentially dangerous. He would holler at me, not those 30 something guys, but at me, even when I was in my 50s, when I was there. So
See,
I
I
did
always
all
thought
kinds of
sometimes she
things.
would bite people when they made her mad. So that's news to me.
One guy did say that I looked like I could wrestle an alligator with one hand tied behind my back. So, you know, so I had being at smaller departments, you have the ability to do many, many, many things that you don't get to do in a larger department. So I did many, many things while I was there.
So when
And,
did you start? Yeah. When did you start wrangling the spirits and the ghosts?
probably 30 years or more ago. My first experiences started when I was around 4. So
Oh.
so I've had experiences my whole life, but I started, doing investigations about 30 years ago, and I've been doing them ever since. I did it quietly all the time I was with the police department because I'm in East Texas and I didn't want the defense attorneys to try to attack my credibility, which was very, very important for me to maintain with all the felony cases that I had. I felt fortunate. I had about 95% convictions on my felony cases. Even on, I had a federal case that was really interesting, and we got 8 convictions out of that. So
That's
that
great.
was that. So that was good, and then I went on to work with, the state on, you know, with children for another, 7 years or so, and retired from that. Once I did, I just pretty much retired, except for doing process serving and getting connected with Deborah. And did some PI with Deborah. I've done some PI with another friend of mine. And he was, not that Deborah wasn't interesting, but the other friend of mine, their specialty is UFO. It's a big specialty. And they live out in Winsboro, so they're not that far from me. But there was only one other investigator, well, other than his wife, there was only one other investigator besides me. And that was Daryl Sims. And Daryl Sims was the alien hunter he had a show on TV for several years. Very fascinating man. I don't think he's doing any, I'm not sure if he's doing any TV shows right now or not, but he's very fascinating. So that was interesting to do that.
So let me just jump in here can you hear me, Martha? Let me jump in for just a second. So Martha's really kind of our celebrity endorsement on our team because she gets a lot of publicity and she knows everybody that's anybody in the paranormal speaking arena and all of that because she spent so many years doing this and being public with it. And the reason I'm bringing this up is that she has earned quite a reputation, even with people that consider themselves to be the experts, to where she even does investigations for certain church organizations as well. So that's a huge endorsement when you have the spiritual powers to be come to you and say, we need your help to see if we've got, some major issues going here. So I wanted to get that in there before we forgot.
Yeah, that too.
Well, it's kind of a big deal when especially the Roman Catholic Church comes in and goes, now we think, what do you think?
Exactly.
And they leave you to be the judge of that. That is a big deal.
Yeah, that was true. Now it's big, with Father Bob Bailey and the Roman Catholic Church. And then Deborah went with me to one investigation down in San Antonio that I was doing for Bishop James Long. In fact, Bishop Long and Rich Valdez, I both know there's a new show out called Legion of Exorcists, I believe it's called. And every week there's a panel and they talk about some cases they've experienced. And then there's recreations of the cases. And it's been
Has that started yet? Has that actually started?
Yeah, they have. This week is the third installment because they're not, the whole thing didn't drop. Just have to do, one at a time. But there's 3 out there now. But Bishop Long is on that talking about some of the cases. But Deborah went with me for the first time to one of the ones that sounded like it really could have been a serious case. And turned out it was really a dysfunctional lady. There was potential for stuff. There were curses, and we left the lady with everything that she needed to do what she needed to do to take care of it. But she didn't listen to it because she's really, dysfunctional is the best word. She wanted things to be a certain way, and she wanted an exorcism. Nobody was possessed. There was potential with her husband, but nobody was. And she got really upset with that. And while I tend to do follow up and check with people, like maybe 6 months down the road or a year down the road, it's always important for me to just check on them and see how things are going. I had to block her. Sometimes you have to do that when you do this. You have to block some people because they become so dysfunctional and they're not going to listen to anything that you have to say. And you don't have the time to listen to them 10 times a day, every day,
Right.
saying the same things over and over and over. And, and it's sad when it's like that. I've had several cases like that. And it's just sad when it's like that, because there are things that can be done to help them, but they're not going to follow. So you just have to listen.
And the biggest problem with that, and Martha and I both have encountered this together and separately, is that you can go in and help a family and you can clean the energy and you can clear the houses and stuff. But if this is someone who really thrives on chaos, or they love dabbling in the unknown, all they do is just bring all that stuff back in, because we're talking about energy. Remember, we've discussed this before. And if you open the door for energy, it's going to come back in, especially if that's what you're focused on. And I personally absolutely refuse to clean a house when I know that person is not going to abide by the guidelines that we give them to keep it clean, and that they like the drama, they live for the drama, they thrive on the chaos. I just find it unethical to take my time and effort to do that, knowing that it's going to be a waste. And also you're creating the possibility of making it worse. It's kind of like you keep digging the hole bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until, now you've got a big, huge puddle that's going to take the tire off the car when you hit it, that type of thing. So.
Yeah, I've had that experience before.
True.
When I went with another group, and we gave them suggestions. We told them we were going to bless one of the monuments in town that had to do with the people that were in their house. And
oh, wow.
We actually told them that I said, now we can do a house blessing or a clearing. And she goes, I know how to do that. And I said, okay, so we will leave that to you. And you will do your offering to the Native Americans like we asked you to. She calls us a week later and says it's still here. And I said, did you do your offering? Was it sincere? Did you do your house clearing? Well, yeah. So we finally suggested she contact another group, because it was just so, we had done due diligence.
Right.
Well, and here's a point I want to make to the group as a whole that are actually maybe watching this, is that Martha and Luann and I all come from different backgrounds, and we have a lot of overlaps in our beliefs and ideas, but there's also some discrepancies that we don't agree on. Everybody has their own style and their own ideas of how to do blessings and different things. So none of us believe there's one right way. So we're not saying, okay, we're going to come to your house and you're going to do this and you're going to do this and blah, 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 or you're going to burn in hell. It's not like that. So Luann has her way of handling things. And even I am much kinder to the spirit world than I am to the physical world. I talk more kindly to them. I'm more compassionate with them. I have more patience with them. It's really kind of interesting. And Martha, she's just kind of no nonsense. Like, okay, we're going to get the job done. She comes in with that policewoman attitude. Boom, boom, boom. We're done. And they all work, and they all have their place in certain scenarios. And sometimes we use the combination of all three personalities and styles. And sometimes one person takes the lead, and it works well because that person just seems to have that connection. And I think that's one of our major gifts as a team, is that we know how to step into the limelight and how to step out of the limelight, so to speak.
Well, and we know how to support the other people in what they want to do.
Yeah, that stupid pickle juice picture I think is a really good. I'm about to
love
pass out from vertigo, and Luann's holding my head up so I don't fall out of the chair, and they're bringing me pickle juice. So no one questioned it. I just said pickle juice, and boom, there we go. There's the pickle juice. But I was nauseated. I needed pickle juice because I was so nauseated from the vertigo. So
And that's
Well,
a great photo.
and we usually talk about the investigation before what might work best. And so we just kind of let things happen as they happen.
yeah, and what's interesting is that Martha, it seems to me, and maybe and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like Martha is very straightforward in her, and she brings that law enforcement attitude. It's like, this is what it looks like, but what evidence do we have to support it? You
Right.
know? And so she walks that really straight line of A, B, C, D, and how we're going to get to Z, because we're going to get to Z before we leave here. And Luann is like, oh, and then I'm like, okay, this is what it looks like, but really, what do we have that really makes that happen? And I'm all about making Swiss cheese when we're there, poking holes in everything, questioning everything, even questioning the spirits, questioning the energy. And I am one that I don't know. I think I kind of actually try to stand toe to toe with them sometimes and challenge them just to make sure I know what I'm dealing with. Is that a fair assessment, you think?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Well, and everyone has to stay open-minded. I know I came into my gifts kicking and screaming because growing up, I would have this just knowing what I needed to do and knowing what was happening. I actually, my first earth-shattering one was when I had a premonition about my father's death. And it was just so, I felt like I was physically shaken, emotionally shaken. I heard yelling in my ear. So it was not that I could do anything about it. It was just kind of you need to pay attention. This is going to happen. And then later, when there was a tornado in Wichita Falls, I knew that was going to happen and told my friends, don't go there today because, and they said, well, we're going to go. And I said, okay,
Yeah,
fine.
you'll be sorry.
Yeah, she called me back. You're not going to believe it. I said, yes, because I told you not to go.
Mm-hmm.
How did you know? Well, how do you think?
Martha, you said you had your first experience at 4. So did I. What was yours?
Well, I was sound asleep, and I actually don't know if this was paranormal or if this was alien. Talking to the people experienced on that end, which is part of why I'm going through the field investigator certification course right now with MUFON, is it seems like where I thought it was always something paranormal, that it may have been alien. But the room I was in, I had it was a T intersection that would come right at my room. So if anybody came down, the headlights would come into my room. Then I had a window on the other side. But this was in the 50s. There were very few houses. It was a brand new subdivision. So there was hardly anybody there. And for somebody in the middle of the night to come down the road with their headlights as bright as those were, it just couldn't happen, because I can still see it to this day. But you get that feeling that somebody's staring at you, watching you or something. It actually woke me up, and I was facing the window on the side of the house, and the hair kind of gets up on the back of my neck, and I'm between 4 and 5 years old. I'm a little fart, and I'm just laying there, but I'm wide awake, and I'm going, what do I do? I'm the one that I got the cover so that if the spiders crawl down from the ceiling, they don't get me. And I don't put my hands or feet over because the monster under the bed. Make sure the closet door is shut so that monster can't come. It's one of those kind of kids, right? but so I got up the nerve and I actually rolled over. And when I did, there was a shadow. You know how you'll get the bigger image, a
Mhm.
shadow. But first of all, the light was so bright. It's that extremely, extremely bright white light that everybody who has interactions talk about. That's what I saw. And then from there, right in my, it took up half the window was a hand, but it was not a human hand. It's like some of the other alien hands that I've seen fingerprints of, where this finger is longer than the others.
Mhm.
And that was on my window. That was at my window. When I let out a scream, and of course my father came in and he looked around. Oh, it's just a bad dream. I used to have a couple crazy dreams, but in my dreams, I would always tell myself, it's only a dream. You can't get hurt. It's only a dream. That's weird. I'd do that over and over when I'd have weird dreams. So it was not a dream. I was wide awake. And parents are really bad about doing that when the kids, discounting what kids say, because what they say may be true. It might not be a dream. And so that was my first encounter. But then there was also a figure in the corner of my room too at that time that was all shadow. The best way I could describe it was, when we think of a druid, real tall,
Mhm.
with a hooded figure. And so this is what I saw. And then there wasn't a face. It was darker where the face was. And I've seen that figure a number of times throughout my life. The last memory of seeing it was when I was 19. So I was talking to Jane Nelms, who is a big experiencer, and she goes, and in fact, there's supposed to be somebody's doing a documentary about her life. But when I was talking to Jane, because she's done over 1,000 probably investigations, alien, investigations, and she has a lot of photos. She has fingerprints. She has so much stuff still that was hers with her that I have seen and gone through. But from when I was 18 and 19, I was telling her about seeing the figure then. Her question to me was, well, was it walking, or was it kind of just gliding, just a couple inches up above the ground, not like high up going like the Jetsons or anything. And and I said, no, it was gliding. There were no feet. It was gliding, but it was just above the ground, because that time I watched it coming into my room 2 nights in a row. And she told me that she has seen a figure like that once. She claims she has been on, and I have no reason to disbelieve her, and she's not crazy. She's very intelligent. She was on the nursery on a ship with the hybrid children. She's gone up. She went up there, and they would bring women up there to bond with the children, to hug them and rock them and do the things like we normally do with these hybrid children. And she said while she was up there that one day, she watched a figure exactly like what I described come glide into the nursery, look around, and just kind of slowly glide on out. And she said that she didn't know the position of that person, other than that person would have been a very important person within their, whatever, with whoever, those creatures were. And he would have been, a higher up kind of person, alien being. And so that's when I started thinking about a lot of other things that, no, I've had a combination of both, but that's when it started. And I've had all kinds of crazy stuff all throughout my life. Some are normal, some are scary, some are just weird.
I've never had anything that really scared me, which is kind of scary now that and I'm older to think about that. Why didn't it scare me? Because I can remember seeing things, and I can remember talking to my grandmother at an early age, and she said she could see spirits. And she did freak me out one day. And I said, well, do you see angels? And she said, yes. And I said, do you see demons? And she said, yes, there's one right behind you. And that kind of fucked with me a little bit, but I think she was playing with me. But my first memory of anything that wasn't normal, so to speak. I was about 4, and we had a German beer stein from World War II in our living room. And I can remember hearing someone singing German music, German songs at night in a male voice. And that went on and off for a while. And every time when I would hear those German songs, that beer stein would be turned over on its side, and there'd be a ring of liquid beer or water or whatever underneath it, like someone had been drinking out of it. And my mother even accused me one time of getting up and using it in the middle of the night and stuff like that. And I remember talking to this person, and I actually could sing the songs with them. And it made sense to me and stuff. And that's my very first recollection of something like that. But I had things like that happen to me on and off all my life, and I could turn lights off, and I couldn't wear watches when I was young, and I can now, but I have to really control my energy, and they have to be really well-made watches. And I remember in the 60s, we used to have these little Mattel motors that you could buy and put them on your bicycle. And you could turn a little plastic key, and it would make a motorcycle sound, and you could ride it and pretend you're on a motorcycle. Well, I had one of those, and the key broke. And so my dad pulled the wires apart like you would hot wire a car. And when you wanted to run, you would just twist those wires together. Well, that motor would run at night, and you'd go out there, and the wires would be this far apart from each other, and the motor would be running, and, just odd things like that. So, and people always kind of refer to my grandmother as crazy. So I didn't talk about stuff like that because I didn't want people calling me crazy. And so I ran from the metaphysical, paranormal, all of that stuff all my life. And, as a private investigator, I knew how to do things and how to find people with no explanation. So I always had a good cover story. I would know what to do, and then I'd go and find all of the facts to make that support the story instead of working backwards the other way, so I just always knew things. So it wasn't until I had my near-death experience about 10 years ago, I said, screw it. And I just started embracing it and let the chips fall where they may, and let people think what they want to. I don't care anymore. So that's kind of my thing.
Yeah, same thing with me. I just know things. I just know things. And my husband, gave up after a few years, because when I'd say something, well, how do you know? And you just say, I just know. I don't know how I know. No. And I've my whole life. And so
yeah, Martha would call
sometimes.
She would call me sometimes on the case, and she goes, this is what I think. And I'm like, I'm seeing the same thing. And then what's really cool, when you have people that are simpatico, in my opinion, they'll see the pic. It's like we're seeing the picture, but we're seeing it from different angles. So you have to kind of combine the angles, just like Luann, what you and I had when we were describing the portal on the way home from Sulphur Springs a couple of weeks ago. We had the same vision, and we were able to fill in the gaps, but we both had the same colors. We had the same style of rock, and outline and stuff like that. And when you have two people that can confirm things, but it comes from different angles. And I just think it's because we're more sensitive to different types of energy. And so it's just, it's kind of like, where are you sitting in the drive-in movie? Well, I'm sitting over here and you're sitting over here. So the angles are a little bit different. So maybe you saw something in the background that I didn't see, and vice versa, that type of thing. That's why I think that's how I think it works.
Well, a lot of times I have doubted myself. So I know we were doing an exercise to look at auras, and the person helping us was saying, well, you see those, there's a yellow and a green orb over there. And I went, oh, you see that too? I thought I was seeing things. So it's a matter of, you have to talk to the other people that are there. When she started saying the portal didn't look right, I said, well, mine was round, pretty round, but not exactly round. And it had a white on the top. She goes, that's what I saw. So, you do have to compare a little bit, because you want to validate what you're seeing and making sure that it wasn't, I don't know, made up.
Either that, or we're all having the same hallucination, and I guess that's possible. Yeah, I guess
No,
it's possible, but who
no, it's
cares?
not likely.
You know, we're having fun, and people feel better when we do things. That's the point.
Uh-huh.
You know, Luann and I had an incredible experience with the house in McKinney, and to this day, I still have a hard time processing all the things that happened there. We had a portal, we had an underground stream, we had multiple suicides on the property.
Mm.
We had a massacre of Native American Indians in that area. We had a lot of bad juju, a lot of, and I say bad juju, I don't mean magic. It's just a lot of sadness, on that property. And I think what brought it all to a head is that the person that was affiliated with that property at that moment was still alive, but they didn't want to be off that property and they were no longer
Mhm.
there. And their sadness and grief, I think, was like a magnet that brought all of that energy together to a head. And it was just layer upon layer upon layer. So I'd get something and I'm like, okay, this is what's going on. I'd put that baby to bed and then we'd have something else. And then I opened up the closet door and boom.
Oh my God, there's so many people in this closet.
It's like, come out of the closet, damn it.
Because someone in the house, you know, we kind of has there been anything anywhere else? Because we had cleared some portals and some other things that didn't seem, I don't know, impactful. The portals were, but not. And yeah, my sister won't sleep in this room. And so when we went in there, it did have an energy to it, but when she opened the closet, it was like,
Well, and I'll tell you what's interesting. A lot of people, they use sage when they're blessing homes, which is fine. That's their thing, or they use it for cleaning houses. But the thing that I have found to be really as a powerful physical tool, I guess for lack of a word, is tobacco, because tobacco was so sacred to Native Americans, and Native Americans are our original grounding humanoid physicality, I guess, humans to this country. So they're our foundation of energy, for lack of a better word. We have Mother Earth, and then we have Native Americans, and there are the second level of energy. So you want to always pay homage to them and connect to that energy and make sure that everything's cool and copacetic and everything's simpatico and all that other stuff. Because they use tobacco for all of other things. And tobacco is native to this continent. Pot is not native to this continent. And so I know a lot of people are all into about pot and metaphysical things and things like that. And great, but it's not part of the healing process of Mother Nature, Earth, in this continent, because it's not part of this continent. It's not, what's the word? Help me with a fucking word. What's the word I'm looking for? Native. It's not native. Is that the word I'm looking for?
That works.
Okay. So you know what I'm saying. So go to your local tobacco store, get you a can of Prince Albert. You don't have to have a lot. You don't even have to burn it. You can just lay it down on the ground and offer it. But I find that to be very powerful, very, very, for connection, for cleaning, for protection, all of that. And I don't smoke it. Never have. So
yeah, we used that, and we used well, our offering to the Native Americans included tobacco, whiskey, and turquoise.
Yeah. But one of the things that I use instead of turquoise is just quartz crystals. Quartz crystals are pretty native to this continent all across, and it is kind of like the be all end all rock. I mean, it covers a large variety of energy levels and stuff. So, everyone has their particular rock that they like, and I love lapis and I love rose quartz and stuff like that. But quartz crystal covers everything pretty much. It really does. And maybe I'm just partial to that because there's just huge amounts of it in Arkansas. I go to Arkansas, and the minute I cross state line, I'm high. And I stay that way till I get back to Texas. I do. I love Arkansas, and it's amazing the things I get tuned into when I'm in Arkansas. It's crazy, crazy good. So Luann has her herbs, and she does them for healing, but she also looks at the metaphysical side of those as well.
Yes, because of the groups I belong to, they want to know the metaphysical properties of the herbs. And so when I do my podcast, I always go over the herb, kind of its history, and then where it's located, how it grows, what we use it for our health. And then I do some metaphysical. Sometimes there's tons of metaphysical stuff, like for sage and peppermint and rosemary. I did rhodiola, which I'm not really familiar with, and there wasn't as much, but they used it like to because of its resilience and where it grows in the high mountains. They use it to boost your metaphysical.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Do
So
they eat it, or do they make a tea, or they just wear it, and then or what?
It's mostly the root that's used. The upper part of the plant is more like similar to an aloe vera, but so it's the root that's mostly used. And it can be used in tea. It can be taken all different ways. Tinctures and syrups and things like that. But as far as boosting for metaphysical properties, they just use the root that's cut up or powdered.
Well, I got two questions for Martha, so I want to ask them before I forget. First of all, one of the things that kept me away from metaphysical things for many, many years is that from the time I was a teenager and encountered people that identified as not Christian but metaphysical, I have been told that I was not of this earth, and that they would say that I had alien DNA or I had angel DNA, that type of thing. What with what you're studying with your UFO investigations and stuff, Martha, what do you know about that? I mean, have they ever really proven that people have like Nephilim DNA or UFO DNA, that type of thing?
Well, not really. Well, if they have, they're not going to say. But I know from the experiences I've had, the experiences of a few people that I trust who are very credible, that it's entirely possible. There's several people that I've talked to that had one of those with the alien pregnancies. And when you have that, it's not like you go deliver a baby when it's time. That baby's just gone like that. And I know several people. Jane Nelms is one of those people. And Jane, several years ago, was actually, when she was visited, she was allowed through all this telepathic stuff, because they don't verbalize. It's all through telepathy and other means like that. She was shown her son, who was about 35 and on a ship. He was a commander of a ship, alien craft. There was any number of people. Teal Gray, a very good friend of mine, when she bought her house, she's over in Denton off of 380, NASA, not NASA, but NASA. FEMA. FEMA has several hundred acres behind her house, and FEMA does more than just go out to disaster areas. This land over there has a runway where they can sit in their backyard. They could sit there and watch some practice land Air Force One.
Wow.
Because it's one of the places that they can take the president. And then there's a tunnel from there all the way to Oklahoma City that's about the width of, it's big enough that you can run two semis side by side all the way if they needed to transport the president from one place to another. When they bought the house, a bunch of people were outside smoking, and so they were facing the FEMA property, they all saw a UFO over there. Everybody at the party the rest came out. They all saw it, all of them. And, you know, it was silent. They saw it. Because, well, or I don't know how Denton, 380 on Denton's kind of like going to Houston. It's always under construction. And so they had their mailboxes around the corner on a dirt road, which is the back way into the FEMA property. And she said, after everybody saw this, it wasn't long. And here come the black SUVs going down the road and heading down. And then, so their mailboxes were put on that dirt road. The next day, her husband, Barron, was getting mail out, and more of the black SUVs are coming, and everybody's got their dark sunglasses, just like TV, dark sunglasses, they're black.
Men in black.
Yeah, but he could see them well enough that they would call them hybrids. Hybrids tend to have, from what we've been told and what they've done research, long, thin necks, very long, thin necks. And then the mandible of the jaw is totally different than ours. It's smaller. It's more, I don't know really how to describe it, but it's not anything like ours. And, but, so they had that, he saw that, and then he's a landscaper. And at the back of their property, they have some trees, there's a creek, and that's what separates them from the FEMA land. And then there's some more trees. Well, now, many years later, it's all overgrown, but he was where he keeps all his machines and stuff for his landscape business. So he was out there, you know, fooling around with that stuff several days later or so. And he looks up and he sees this helicopter coming up from the other side, but it's angled where they're looking down at him and he's looking up at them. I mean, and it's like wave at them. They could see each other very well. And he's like, there was some more hybrids in there. Then they kind of just disappeared because they were like shocked. You know, they didn't expect anybody to be back there. And I will tell you, one of the times I've been at Teal several times, but one of the times Vicki Higdon and I spent the night there, and she has a guest house out back that's her property is active paranormally. So is the guest house. The neighbor next door has complained about her little boy playing through the fence or doing something with her little girl, and she just looked at the lady and said, "I don't have a little boy." You know, something along those lines. But when we were out there, we were sitting outside. It was a really nice evening. It was just Vicki Teal and I at the time. And so we're going to walk into the back of the property, and there was this golf ball in the yard that had looked like, you know, a mower or something had eaten it up. So it was all ripped and kind of torn. It was a bright yellow one. So we get up there and I just kind of toss it in the woods towards the creek. And I don't think anything about it. And then we're walking over to the other side of the property, and which is even a little bit more wooded by the creek. And I walk into that area, and then I step back, and there's a white golf ball by my foot that wasn't there. And we pick that up and turn around, a little bit further behind us is the one that I had thrown into the woods on the other side. So I threw them both, you know, back into the woods towards the creek. And then when Barron got home, he goes, "Y'all saw that?" He was like, what? with the one that had been eaten up. He chewed up. He said, "I chewed that thing up. I have thrown that thing away so many times. It keeps coming back." Put it in the trash and then find it in the yard somewhere.
They must have a golden retriever that lives there somewhere.
So, you know, so it's people like that with the DNA and the hybrids and everything. So anything, I just keep an open mind. One reason is because if God made this planet, God made everybody and everything on it. There's, you know, billions and trillions of other planets. Why could he have not done that elsewhere as well?
Well, sure, but I don't think I'm a hybrid. I don't have a tall, thin neck. I don't have any, but it's just weird. Yeah, it's just weird how many people have told me that over the years, and it really made me go into hiding with my gifts because it just freaked me out for many, many years. And now I
Well,
just don't care. But here's my other question for you. Martha is the keeper of the equipment. So Luann is a psychic medium, and I don't put a label on myself. I have spiritual gifts. Deal with it. And Martha has spiritual gifts, but because she's also ex-law enforcement, she's also kind of like what I call the dragnet person of the group. And so she's the keeper of the technology and the equipment. So I got like a 2-level question. Have you ever had anything register on the equipment that no psychic medium picked up? And then the reverse of that question, have psychic mediums picked up things, but the equipment didn't pick it up?
all the time. That's not unusual.
And see, people think that's weird, but I don't. Tell them why it's not weird.
Well, it's not weird because it happens. One, when you're gifted and you're psychic, you're not always on necessarily, and that doesn't mean that you pick up and receive absolutely everything all the time. I mean, my goodness, if you did, you would be so bombarded, you would probably be crazy.
Well, see, that's something
Because
that Dr. Lynn, who was the original teacher here in the United States of Ho'oponopono, which is, a metaphysical exercise for connecting with the divine and increasing love in your life. And he says, everything has energy, everything. And if you get tuned in, the table will talk to you, the chair will talk to you. And he goes, you don't want to be that tuned in. You'll go crazy. You'll absolutely go crazy. But with
absolutely.
that said, everything has its own level of energy. So it's also true of the equipment. It will pick up certain levels of energy, but it doesn't mean that it picks up all levels of energy. So,
And it doesn't mean you could take 3 or 4 different types of EMF detectors, say, and you can set them all together side by side, facing the same way. And that doesn't mean that all 3 are going to pick up the same thing.
All right.
no, and
Some
here's
might
my
pick up-
test. Here's my test for that. When we were in Sulphur Springs, we had one of the apps open and it called me a bitch.
It'll probably do it again.
I have had that app open at least 5 times in my house, and it has never called me a bitch in my house. So I was like, what the hell? We're going to go to Fifth City next time. You're not going to call me a bitch again.
We can call you other names too. But
You better not. Better call me sweetheart.
but sometimes it seems as if when I'm at certain locations, or maybe we've been talking about Hill House, there are things from there that will show up while I'm discussing that, or even come through on equipment sometimes when I'm using it elsewhere from the house.
Right.
But that's a totally different bond I have for the house. For example, I just posted on I don't know if I did on Facebook, but I know I did on my TikTok. There was somebody there a week or so ago, and they're sitting out on the front porch, and the security camera midway through picks up this kind of female Southern voice, but it goes, Martha. And the guy sitting on the chair also heard it. He heard it, and he goes, Martha's not here right now.
I saw that. I did.
Yeah. So I get mentioned not just there, but other places people will pick up, which is kind of interesting. They will pick up things that are related to me, and I don't have to be anywhere around somewhere, and I don't know what the deal is with that. It just is. But I also know I was talking to I'll think of it later.
Senior moment.
Yeah.
Well, the thing about it is, and Luann and I've had probably a little more interaction than Martha and I have in actual investigations, but it's the tag team effect. you know, where it's like putting together pieces of the puzzle. And Luann and I really flow well. Martha and I really flow. The three of us, we're still finding our total rhythm with that, but I think it's going to really ramp up a lot the more we work together. So like Luann will put a piece of the puzzle out and I'm like, and then, but this happens and then this will do this. And it's like putting a jigsaw puzzle together and you just keep putting the pieces together. And I highly, highly recommend that you never do anything like this alone. One, it's
No.
not safe. Number
No,
two,
never.
when I'm in the zone, I have memory loss. Like I'll come out of the zone. I'm like, okay, I think I said this. I think this is what happened. And I need someone to reinforce my memory of how I recall this, because when I'm in the zone, it's like, no, I'm not in my body because I'm not. And so a lot of times I question if my memory's accurate or not. So it's nice to have that reinforcement with someone going, yeah, that's what happened. Damn it.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Yeah, I'd
So
like to
go
say,
ahead.
I'd like to find out. I'd like to find out where I was, what was going on with my missing 90 minutes at Hill House.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
You're
do.
by yourself?
No, well, I was in that one room. That was the night that I was scratched and bitten in this one particular room. But I was in this room. There was an event going on, and the kitchen is a command center. That's where you can see the monitors for all the cameras throughout the house. And everybody was going into the kitchen we were going to do something. I don't remember what, but Kathy said, and she wasn't the only one, several people that were there said the same thing, because I thought they were making it up. That I was just sitting like on the edge of the bed with my phone in my hand, and I was just sitting there. And Kathy came in and was like, "Come on, let's go. We're going to go do some stuff. Come on." And I was just staring at it for about, they all sat in the freaking kitchen and watched me for 90 minutes, just not moving. And it's like, why didn't somebody come get me? And for
Why
me,
didn't they? Why didn't they
don't
come
know.
get you?
I saw, but for me, there was no 90 minutes. They went in and I just followed right behind. So that missing time is missing time that I was totally unaware of.
Okay, well, here's the rule. Here's our team rule. You see anybody sitting and not moving for more than 5 minutes, you go over there and knock them on their head. Okay. You
Yeah.
don't leave them sit. That can be dangerous. I'm not kidding. It can be
Well,
dangerous.
and the other thing you do, are you having a conversation with someone? Are you communing with someone? What's going on?
Well, I
Yeah.
know. And I have, and I'm just sitting, I'm just literally just like statue, just sitting there.
And you don't have any memory or anything. Yeah. Well,
No
no,
memory
I'll
at
come
all.
shake you. I'll come
I
shake
would
you. All right.
love to know.
Martha's been bitten and scratched. I know. I have been bitten and scratched. I have been pushed. I have been kicked. I've had my hair pulled. Luann, have you ever had any physical type of attack?
I was pushed back, but it did not seem like an attack. It seemed like spirit leaving the room, and in so doing, it was right up my back. Yeah. So
Get out of my way, I'm leaving.
I have had and that was what it felt like. It felt like, okay, we're letting you know we're gone. And I thought, yeah, I got that loud and clear. But I have also had hands on my shoulders,
Me too.
Things like that.
And I've had all that, and none of it has scared me. Even the one bite or the scratch with the bite around it that I've noticed the bite several days later, that didn't scare me. I just, it just doesn't scare me. I'm more inquisitive about, who or what. And sometimes I can figure it out. Sometimes I can't. I've had doors open and doors closed, and lights do things, and audible. I've been touched, I've been pushed, all of that kind of stuff that goes along with it. And I get hissed at, I've been growled at. I mean, it just, if you're going to be if you're going to work within or investigate research within this realm, things are going to happen, and you don't want to scream and run away.
No, if
That
you're going to
only
be afraid,
happens
you
on
shouldn't be
TV.
doing. Yeah, if you're going to be afraid, I just don't think you should be doing this kind of stuff. And if you're doing it as an entertainment, you shouldn't be doing this stuff, because that's when people get hurt. That's when people, have things happen to them that could be traumatizing, that type of thing. I know that there's something in our DNA that's why we love roller coasters. We love to be scared and stuff like that. But you don't go and set fire to your backyard just because you're fascinated with fire. There's just some common sense that
No,
goes
go
along
join the
with
fire
that.
department.
Yeah,
Well, I think
exactly.
I think if you're
Exactly.
going to do investigations, you want to be there, you want to find out what's going on. You have to accept the fact that you're going to experience those things, and to make it a good experience, not something that you're going to scream and run from.
No,
You
and
know,
I think
even
this
the-
is. Go ahead,
Even the
Martha.
bad stuff. Yeah, even the bad stuff that happens, you're just aware and you're cautious. But if you're going to scream and cuss and run away, just don't even bother.
Yeah.
No,
No.
because and I think that this is a good time to point out that, like, if we're actually doing a cleansing or a calming of a house, we're not walking through the house throwing holy water with a crucifix, going, "The power of Christ compels you," and things like that. It's not. To me, what we do is very anticlimactic in the way that we do it, because we're very quiet, we're very respectful, we're very procedural, and we do what we do have things that I call rituals, but each one has our own special idea of what that ritual is. I don't yell at anybody. I don't scream. That's one of the things about the few shows I watch, where they're going, "Is there anybody sitting here?" Well, dadgum, you don't have to yell at them.
Sometimes you don't have to speak out loud at all.
No, just if you're going to talk, just be very calm and quiet. They're not deaf.
But if you have other people with you, please speak out loud. There's nothing more aggravating than someone carrying on a conversation with something that's there and they're getting responses. Say you're using dowsing rods and you're getting responses, but nobody else has a clue what you're doing.
Yeah, I've had to learn to do that, because I do a lot in my head, and Martha brought up dowsing rods. Dowsing rods are my tool of choice for locating energy, for getting answers, for checking the levels of the room, that type of thing. That's my tool of choice. And I have a new relationship level with my dowsing rods. We're learning to communicate on a higher level than just yes, no questions. My dowsing rods are getting a voice. So that's been kind of fun and interesting. So they still haven't found my necklace, though. It's pissing me off. I have a necklace I've been looking for, but I found everything else I lost in the house. So that's been good. Everything else is found. So I'm going to have to assume that maybe that necklace was either lost outside of the house or was stolen. So,
Okay.
all right. Any closing thoughts or ideas or comments?
Well, I think that we worked together very well, and it was a calming experience in Silver Springs.
I enjoyed that house very much. I had two real quick. I had two wonderful experiences. One, I had a spirit that I was talking to in the kitchen that was very loving and kind and very generous, and just was a moment to be around her. Her name was Sarah. And then I never did quite get a handle on who or what I was dealing with in the man cave upstairs. But we had fun challenging each other. It was dueling ceiling fan energy. He wanted it to go one way and I wanted it to go another way, and I won for the moment. So
Yeah.
I may have my hands full with him when we go back. He may be a little pissed at me, who knows. So
Well,
but that was fun. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. It's like, except for what did I say? Is that all you got?
Yeah, is that all you got?
Yep. That was it.
All right. So we are the DFW Paranormal Investigations team. It's DFWParanormalInvestigations.com. We will we will talk to you for free. We'll do free consultations. We have all kinds of free services available to you because this is what we do for fun, for ourselves. It's something that we're passionate about. It's something that we're good at. I do have people that send us email, just so you guys know, but they send me stupid emails like, I need help. And I'm like, well, can you elaborate? And then they never send anything back, that type of thing. So
You can't help somebody that doesn't tell you something.
no, you got to tell me something. So anyway, this is sponsored by smilesevents.com. This is part of our podcast. We're talking again. Watch out. Luann, tell them where you are.
You can find me at herballou.com. That's HERBAL-LU.com, or at herbalou1105@gmail.com.
And Martha does a lot of public speaking at paranormal conventions and different things. And so I would suggest that you go follow her either on TikTok or Facebook so that you can see where she's going to be on a regular basis. Have you got it up on your website yet, Martha?
Not yet. I'm still not sure about South Carolina, if that's going to end up being able to make or not. I'll be in Oklahoma in September, October. I'll be at Hill House. I'll be at several places. I think I have 3 places in October.
If you'll send me
November.
where you're going to be, I'll put it up on the website.
Okay, in November, I'll be back in first weekend in Jefferson.
Now, in October, this is not open.
October, the Halloween, I'll be in Little Rock. Hello.
Yes.
Yes.
So send me all that. In October, we are for a local party networking group, Texacom. We are going to be doing for their group as part of their Halloween celebration, a private ghost investigation at the Adolphus Hotel in downtown Dallas. So that'll be cool. So if you are a party event planner or a wedding planner or have anything to do with gig events and parties, go join Texacom just for the fact that you can come and be a part of our ghost investigation at the Adolphus Hotel. That would be a lot of fun. So I encourage you all to check that out as well. And I guess that's it for today. I'm Deborah Colleen-Rose, private investigator, ISGU.com, interactive entertainment, smilesevents.com, and spiritual coach, deborahcolleenrose.com. So come see us sometime. Bye, y'all.
Bye.